We do have these couple of anomalies, maybe you might have wondered. What about suicide? Why do you think suicide is in the commit? Tanya's raising her hand even though you can't see this. So, Tanya?
Because it used to be a crime.
Oh, good job. That's right. Suicide.
See, I'm back with the motor car era.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of
consistent. So, that's right. Suicide was punishable by crime. And how about miracle? Why is miracle in the perform? Tanya again. You brown
I'm
noser,
such
you.
a keener, front row.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not necessarily a miracle if there's no witnesses. It
Exactly.
can't be proved.
Exactly. A miracle is just not a miracle if nobody sees it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is activity 3.4. Now, what I want you to do is, quickly, I want you to, in the question box, tell me what the 4 chunks of language were from the first exercise that we did, the first activity. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm burping.
I wonder what that little noise was.
I'm trying to cover up as much as I can. Okay, so everybody. Oh, we've got some in there. Perform a miracle a couple of times. Conduct an investigation.
Oh.
We have commit arson. Right, that's right. Conduct an investigation. Good job. Okay, so, and cause havoc. Excellent. So, hopefully you got those just from memory, and that is really the point of that first activity, is that it is the first opportunity for students to really become familiar with looking for chunks and recognizing them. As you did, you found a whole bunch of them. But then later on, you should be able to, because they were highlighted, remember them. Right? So that is really the point of the first activity. So I hope you enjoyed these 2 activities, these 2 looks into the book. And right now, before we do a question and answer, I'm going to pass it back over to Tanya, who is going to talk to you a little bit about some administrative stuff.
Okay. And actually, just before I go into the administration stuff, I'd like to also kind of highlight how, in lots of ways, course books that we normally work from, you know, I think they can be a little bit lacking sometimes in the way they do approach vocabulary, because obviously they are so grammar driven usually. There's a very you know, clear grammar syllabus associated with them, and I think that this book also and also the ideas through the lexical approach give us greater ideas of how to exploit those vocabulary areas in these course books. It's not just a little box of vocabulary where it's a single word. I mean, if nothing else, if we do have those single words, you know, thinking of the language around that single word. Does it have a dependent preposition? Does it have that, you know, is it a noun plus noun typical phrase? You know, does that verb often collocate with that? So it's kind of expanding our range, if you like, or our own understanding of what students actually need. So even if we're working from a book that is not a lexical-based syllabus, you can still incorporate a lot of these ideas and expand your view on vocabulary teaching that can be incorporated into these books as well. So that's also why I think it's really, you know, pretty cool stuff, pretty useful stuff.
Definitely. And this book has a lot of that type of, a lot of activities in it that can help you adapt your course book or take your course book and make it a little bit more lexical.
Exactly. And I think, and that
sounds sexy,
was
eh? Lexical.
Okay, you stay over there.
Anyway, I was nodding my head feverishly to everything Tanya was saying. So now I'm going to pass it over to her, so you'll be able to see her.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to see my desktop now. And you should hopefully be looking at a screen.
Yep, we were.
Okay, but now
we went back to the beginning.
It did go back to the beginning.
So just be patient, everyone, for 1 minute.
All right, I've got to click through. Okay, now this was actually prepared. I did click through all the way to the end, but for some reason my computer decided to make it start from the beginning.
That's
but you
right.
can just see
The
how much
computer.
work Tyson put into this already. All right, here we go. This is the one I wanted to get to. All right, so, but first of all, thank you very much, Tyson. I think you did a great job there,
You're very
obviously
welcome.
a lot of preparation. I hope you guys did find this, yeah, me too.
A lot. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
All right.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. Now, I hope you found it informative and fun. But for those of you who are interested in getting your own copy of this excellent book, remember that we are offering a special discount to you guys, our webinar attendees. So as it says, if you order the book, you need to place your order before tomorrow morning, before 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and you get a 20% discount. If you want that, you can click on the link in the event notice that we sent you about this webinar, and that takes you directly to the book in our Knowing Books website. But please note that if you do this, the discount doesn't appear on the online order form. We'll deduct the 20% when we process your order. Okay? And I also wanted to mention our next webinar. Yay! That's going to be that's going to be 2 weeks from tonight. Myself, Tyson, and Nicole, the three of us will be presenting that one. And that one is called Minimax Teacher. And it's going to be based around this book called The Minimax Teacher for the very good reason that we're going to be looking at ways of minimizing input. For example, how to reduce your prep time and the number of handouts that we typically give our students while maximizing the output of student participation, engagement, and practice. So we'll be sending out the event notice for this webinar early next week, and Tyson, Nicole, and I hope to see you there. So for those of you who do not want to stick around for the question and answer section, which we're going to be starting in just a few seconds, I'd like to thank you on behalf of Tyson and Nicole and English Central. I'd like to thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Clap, clap,
yeah,
clap,
yay.
clap, 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 clap. I can hear your claps. Don't worry.
And I hope that we see you again at a future webinar. Now, for those of you who do have a question,
everybody's clapping in the question box.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Well, not everybody, but
yeah.
Thank you. I can make it sound like it's everybody.
So yes, do fire away with your questions now. We're just going to give you a few seconds to enter your question in the question box on your control panel. Now please note we are going to try to answer all of your questions, but we might not be able to answer all of them today. But it depends on how many questions we get and how hungry we get. We haven't eaten dinner
yet. Yeah, we will have to cut you off at some point.
if our stomachs start growling too loudly. Yeah, okay. So fire away, and thanks again, everybody. It was great. We enjoyed it.
Okay, so the first question we have here is from Heather. Can you talk to how this works with beginner, low-level learners?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, for example, something that I know that something that's I'm just going to go back to what I was saying before about it just expanding from the single word vocabulary box. So I know one of the areas that you have in, say, an elementary or pre-intermediate level is verbs, adjectives of fear, for example, like you're scared, you're frightened, you're worried, you're happy, you're sad. Well, very often we stay at that level. So we illustrate the vocabulary sad, happy, frightened, but we ignore the preposition that is dependent after that. So it's really just take a step back from the individual word, and no matter what you're teaching, even at beginner level, like how are you is a nice chunk of language there. Scared of, worried about, frightened of, things like that. So it's even at the beginner level, look at, and it doesn't, like particularly dependent prepositions, I'm using this as an example because students don't necessarily need to know what about or of in that situation means. They need to know the key idea of scared or happy or sad, but if you teach it as a chunk, scared of, worried about, then you're already kind of, laying the seeds of the information to the students where they need to look beyond the individual word. And I think that type of learner training is really, really key even from an early level. You might not be teaching, complex chunks of language, but to be honest, I mean, proponents of the lexical approach, they feel that grammar is basically large chunks of language.